Ben Barba.
Ben Barba.
Right, let's start with it. Right, the NRL have basically said he's been sacked by the Cowboys, which we know, and he's going to be barred. That's the word. John's story in the League Weekly. He's going to be barred from playing in the NRL. Now the RFL have come out and said, well, he's going to be barred from coming to England. Well, I wouldn't have thought that's their rule to make if he's coming to play in Super League. Now, what I must say at this point is, I haven't seen the video. And I do not in any way at all whatsoever condone what is alleged to have happened, right? And it's quite clear it has happened, he's been sat and that's it, right? But there is a very dangerous precedent, or there's a precedent about to be set. And Gareth Carvell, chairman of the Rugby League Players Association, tweeted out that he should be going to jail. Well, my question to Gareth last night is, what happens if Barba turns up next week as a player in Super League, which might happen, and he joins the union? Gareth can't, in my opinion, can't be making comments like that until legal process has been observed. So I'm not going to speak about it, but people saying he's going to get banned from coming to the UK, is that, how viable is that? And there are players in our competition that have been accused of the same thing. There are players that have been, many players that have been convicted of serious assault. You know, we could list 10 instantly. They're still welcome in our game. There are people that have, you know, we have a guy who's been in jail for a high-speed police chase, resisting arrest, and yet he's getting championed like he's
attacking police officers.
Yeah, he's been championed recently. That is the greatest gift to rugby league, or redemption story. But yet, where does the line get drawn, and who draws the line? And are we going to say, right, well, if you've got a conviction, no, we're not having it? Again,
Ben
I will
Barba
stress
has no convictions.
Exactly. I will stress that I, and no one on this show, condones what is alleged to have happened. Absolutely not, in no way. But I just wonder who becomes the person that says, well, you can come in, but you can't. Or you're not welcome, but you are. And I think that is a very dangerous precedent to set for our sport. And do we backdate? We talk about players' rehabilitation, etc., etc. If stories since it's happened, we understand that. Well, we can't talk about what has happened or what hasn't happened, but it looks like it's going to be surprising if he actually gets charged for it, and if he doesn't, then where do we stand?
The context is his partner, who he allegedly assaulted, doesn't want
to press charges,
which is essentially what allegedly happened in 2013 when he was at the Bulldogs,
right?
And hence why he never faced any sanctions. Went at the Bulldogs when their CEO was Todd Greenberg, who's now the CEO of the NRL.
Yeah. So
does his missus then obviously want to save his career then, obviously?
Yeah.
If she doesn't want to press charges.
But I think that the other issue is whether she does or doesn't, he has no right to play in the NRL. You know, regardless of whether he has, that's the NRL's decision. And it is Super League's decision. They decide who plays at that elite level, because I think, as we've talked before, it is a privilege to play at that level, to earn big money and be a role model.
How many stories has there been this year, pre-season NRL? People getting done for assault, people being accused of this,
That's exactly why we've come to this point, because
so
it is the worst. It's the worst off-season in the NRL's history. There's been sex tapes, there's been about 5 assaults, there's been all manner of things go on, misbehaviour, and I think they've come to a point now where it's line in the sand, particularly with repeat offenders, which Ben Barba is, as we all know.
Well, how's he a repeat offender if he's never been convicted?
Well, he's had numerous incidents with the police and in pubs in his hometown, Mackay. They've gone to courts, but they have. And there's obviously the cocaine ban that we know.
Just a word on that, by the way, as well. I want to talk about this later on. Julian Edelman, MVP in the Super Bowl last night, which I love. I love the NFL. Last night was terrible.
Oh, it was a terrible game.
It was terrible. The MVP.
Wakefield terrible.
Worse. The MVP, Julian Edelman, missed the first 4 games of the season for breaking the NFL's performance-enhancing drugs protocol. Yet he's now the greatest player in the NFL, as it stands right now, the most valuable player. Where do we stand on drugs? There's so many questions. I just think this is a moral thing.
You're right, it is a minefield.
Where do you go? Where do you go?
Yeah.
You know, I showed you some stuff last night on the internet. If he ain't in, then these players shouldn't be in. So we're going to go and say, right, mate, you're correct. No, you're out.
My response to that is, this is a drawing on the line in the sand now. Right. We're not going to go back and go, anyone 10 years ago did this and this. You know, Zach Hardigan did this 3. I think, and this is what I'm saying.
We do not condone it. I've got to keep saying that. We don't condone it.
What I think the NRL is saying, all right, we've had that much negative press. We've had, we've tried it. They've got an integrity unit. The players get all the welfare, education, all the support, which perhaps they did in the past. There's no excuses now, and they've just gone, we're not copping this anymore. Now, whether Super League does or not is a completely different question, because it is a different competition and whether it can afford to not have players of Ben Barba's ilk, who is the man of steel, and whether Kenny Edwards and other these players who have been kicked out of the NRL.
Well, let's be fair. The majority, and I can't.
I wouldn't say majority. I wouldn't say majority.
Look, in the past, most of them end up here because.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant the majority players in the competition.
No. I mean the signings that have come here. The signings that have come here basically coming here because they've
Todd Carney,
missed the meaning.
Joel Monaman.
Yeah, Kevin Locke, blah blah. List his end. Tim Smith, list his end.
Well, as I tweeted, it's like some NRL players think I can go out on the drink, do whatever I want, beat up whoever, do whatever, and get a contract.
Well, that's why the NRL have got the integrity, because at the end of the day, we know how big it is over there, and to get the big TV deal, to get the big sponsorship deal,
$1 billion TV.
Yeah, they won't have it if they have this idiot involved in the game. Simple as that. They've got to keep the sponsors. They've got to keep everybody.
So
happy.
So are we saying right? We agree with it. It shouldn't be allowed in.
I do. Yeah, for me, it should be allowed in.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not being rude. You had no problem with him coming in before.
I did.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I spoke about it as well. Yeah, I did.
I just think it's I don't know.
I think domestic violence against women. I think, as we all know, when you go, rugby league is a family game. But what family is it? Is it a family where the husband can beat up the wife? No, it shouldn't be.
Well, I get that.
If rugby league's a family game, then you can't have somebody who takes drugs involved. You can't have someone who
drink drives, breaks the law, runs away from the police involved.
You can't have people
this is the thing. Where's the line?
Yeah.
Who is the man that says, "No, you're not coming in"?
And I think
Todd Greenberg's doing that in Australia now. We've got everything what's gone on. Not just a couple of years ago, but even as you mentioned, this close season, he's had enough. The main man's had enough. And that's it, he's stopping.
I think a side issue to what you're saying also, Mark, is can Super League afford to not allow these players, who most of them are very, very good players, not allow them to come in terms of what they bring? Because Ben Barba was the man of steel. He was a great player on the field. Can it afford to kick out potential star players? Are there enough star players already here?
But and also another one for me, should he have been allowed to win the man of steel? Given the convictions that he's got, because those aren't the qualities of a person that we want, are they? Again, I just think it's a can of worms, and all right, we can't just ignore it. So, oh yeah, welcome him back. I guarantee you, 6 of the clubs in Super League will have mentioned his name this week, as in saying.
Well, the funny thing is, I spoke to 3 or 4 clubs, and all of them were like wide berth.
Yeah, that's the public line. That's the public line.
Well, yeah, maybe.
A 4 club still speaking to you.
I've only been banned from 5.
No, but he spoke to one of them 4 times.
Because unlike you, I've got something called integrity.
Oh, do me a favour, Mr. Davidson.
2 things. The RFL gave a testimony to someone who was convicted of assault. So that's
serious assault. Serious assault.
That's the rugby.
Maybe part of it is in this Me Too time. We've actually got to a point where standards of behaviour are not what they. Where at least in the NRL, which is. Australia is much more of a nanny state than the UK. It's much more like America. Maybe I think they're just saying, all right, we've allowed this sort of stuff, and we've had enough now. Maybe in England, maybe it's not got to that stage. I don't know.
On the Man of Steel thing, and Karen and John have saying, we were saying he should win it last year. The criteria to win Man of Steel is to be the best player in the competition.
Yeah.
Over the season,
not the best person.
No.
And this is where, and I made this point on Twitter last week. As soon as they named the award after Steve Prescott, they made a rod for their own back. What they should have done, perhaps, like you have in the NFL, we've got the Walter Payton Award for someone who does great charitable work.
They have one in the NRL for
That's what they should have named after Steve Prescott, but they've named this award after him. So this is where we are. The criteria is not the best person; it is the best player. If you want it to be something different, then you have to set that out at the start of the season. Let's go and ask Ellery Hanley, what's the criteria to be Man of Steel? Does it matter what they do off the field? If they're complete gits, they don't sign autographs for kids, but they score 100 tries in a season, kick all the goals and do all the tackles. That's the problem with naming the award. That's the problem that someone's got to solve. They're supposed to be giving out the numbers, aren't they, of who's got the points this weekend. If any of those people have got convictions in the past, should they all be barred from winning the Man of Steel award?
I just think it's a huge...
It's a grey area.
It is a huge grey area, and I just don't know where we're going with it. I really don't, and I think it's going to be interesting. I just thought it was interesting that Gareth come out and said what he did last night when legal process hasn't gone through, and he has got a professional or privileged position in the game. I think maybe he just needed to hold his counsel a bit more and wait to see, because ultimately Ben Barba could be one of his clients next week, and then where does he go from there? I just think it's a bit... He'll play with players that have done things that they shouldn't have done. Is he as critical of them? Does he kick them out? You know, I don't know. I just think it's a strange one.
That's a fair point.
It's a strange one.
Just like that at one point, obviously, best wishes to Scott Giroux, who's obviously battling cancer again. He's the under-20s coach at the Newcastle Knights, former Catalans half, a really, really good guy, and wish him all the best in his recovery. Yeah, hopefully we do. Yeah,
we spoke too much about Ben Barba apparently now.
Well, no,
it's the main news story. It's on the BBC
not.
website,
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not so bothered about him. As per, it's the feeling around it, and it's how can he be in an him not? That's where I'm going with it. It's an interesting one for me. We'll see. What else do people want to talk about?
Good job. Certain players were, allowed to play after this point. What about any of all those other players who were banned for cocaine? Do we now say, oh, well, you've come back, your ban ends now, but actually, no, we're not going to register you? Can the RFL say, oh, no, we're not going to register Adam Walker now?
I think they can. Well, they have that power. Whether they exercise that power is a different question.
Do you know now we talk about the drug testing, because now we've got two governing bodies, Super League and the RFL. Who's doing the drug testing for Super League teams now? Because of
all done by UKAD. It's all the governing body.
Yeah, but if Super League are to break away, and they have broken away, could they go down the NRL route where you're only getting banned X number of weeks? Or do we go down the football route where we just pretend it doesn't happen? Because that's what we do in football.
Yeah.